people might see us, like, let's take me for example. Okay, people might see me as the video guy, but maybe I'm a lot more than that. Maybe I'm multifaceted. Maybe I'm a great singer, or I'm an amazing chef. But so what advice can you give to people who want to transition from what people think you are or see you as to what you believe you are in your heart?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to get an opportunity to spread your wings, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and sometimes it's a small window, sometimes it's a big window. You get opportunity after opportunity. For those, consider yourself lucky. I had a very small window. Now, at 17, my true freshman year, I was 17 up until October. I have to admit, I thought I had it all figured out. Who doesn't, right?
Right.
So I was very naive, and I think in some respects that served me very well because I didn't realize the odds and how small the window is. It's easy for me to say now what was at stake.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that, tracking my roots.
Hi, this is Brett Favre, former NFL quarterback of 20 years, and you're watching Behind the Brand with Bryan Elliott.
I have to say, I'm a little bit conflicted. I have to be honest that I'm a 49ers fan. And so for a long time I was rooting against you. But at the same time I can tell you, I feel like I really respected your gameplay, and you're the type of football player that I like to watch play the game. I'm also a player, and actually we wore the same number. So I wore the number 4 for a long time, playing varsity football, playing second string DB, second string receiver, first string kicker. I was a much better kicker than I was receiver, but no, I love the game. Love watching you play.
Well, thank you.
I hated when you beat us.
We had some great games against 49ers.
Yeah, those are good times.
I had and still have a tremendous amount of respect for that organization and the players that have played there. I mean, there's been some tremendous players to come out of San Francisco. And you got one of my, right now, presently, the backup quarterback, Nick Mullins, is a Southern Miss guy, great kid. I almost look at him as like a son. It was so good to see him get in 2 years ago and play so well.
And you got into the Hall of Fame 2016?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right around, I wasn't too far after like the Joe Montanas and the Jerry Rices and that whole, graduating class. You guys sort of went in at similar times.
Yeah, in my class, Eddie DeBartolo was, we're forever connected because we went in the same class. And such a great guy and so deserving. I was honored to be in there with him.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to talking about football and business and all these lessons you learned along the way. And so I typically ask my guests, how'd you get this job? In other words, let's go back in the chronology. Let's go back to the time when little Brett was dreaming about football, playing in the streets or playing on the grass. What did you want to be when you grew up?
2 things, and that was it. There was no third option. Either a pro football player or a Major League Baseball player. Mm-hmm. And I played both. My dad coached both. I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister, and we were seasonal. And what I mean by that was we always had a ball in our hand. It just depended on what time of the year it was. I personally was just really baseball and football. My older brother played all 3. I was when football season was over, I transitioned right into baseball. Mm-hmm. And in fact, if you would have asked me after my high school graduation, which did I think I had a better chance of playing professionally, I would have said baseball. But, I go to Southern Miss, and as a true freshman, I ended up starting and chose to not play baseball in college just so I could focus on football. But, it was, we sort of gravitate, and there's always exceptions, but we gravitate to what our parents do. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what we know, whether we like it or not. Farmers, mechanics, football coaches, business, whatever. And as far back as I can remember, I can remember being the ball boy for my dad's football team, running out balls, running out water, and then baseball. As far back as I can remember, running out and getting the bat at home plate, and just loving everything about it.
Yeah, but you weren't slotted as a quarterback right out of the gate, right? You played like some defense. You played like some
that was
DB. Yeah,
that was a time where, especially high school, guys played both ways. Mm-hmm. It's almost unheard of in high school nowadays, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I signed at Southern Miss, which was the only school to offer me. I signed as a quarterback / defensive back. And I got enough reps on offense during the first week or two. Really, I was kind of a scout team quarterback. And really wasn't no scripted plays. It was like, all right, roll around, make something happen, throw it to this guy. Yeah. And that was how I played. So I could relate to that. And I just made plays. And I knew I could have played DB, but I wouldn't have been near as good and not for very long. So my only hope in football was to play quarterback.
Were you fast? Faster than they let you run on the Packers? Because I don't remember you as a running quarterback. I remember you being nimble and agile, being,
In college, I was probably a better runner than I was a passer. I could throw the lights out of it, but we didn't throw. I started all 4 years. I threw 52 touchdowns total in 4 years. That tells you how many times we threw. But we ran the option. And so it was not uncommon for me to have 50 to 80 yards in a game rushing. And, passing-wise, we did very little drop back. It was sprint outs and bootlegs and things like that, which I really felt comfortable doing that. But I didn't run as much in the pros. I moved around a lot in the pocket. I had a major injury my last college football game, which was the East-West Shrine game. Then was played in Stanford, out in Palo Alto. And I jammed my hip socket and had a vascular necrosis, which is ultimately what Bo Jackson had hip replacement surgery for.
Right.
And I lost a tremendous amount of mobility and speed after that.
Did your dad want you to play quarterback, or did he see you like in a different spot?
No, I think he wanted me. All three of his sons play quarterback, and we were a real small school. We ran the wishbone, not uncommon in that era. And my senior year, we transitioned over to the wing T, just another version of running options and things like that. We probably had 35 players, not a big group of guys. And, at that age and even younger, usually your best player is the pitcher, the shortstop, or the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And that's the case for me and my two brothers.
I mean, you had a little bit of inside help. You had your dad there as the coach, but then, when you got to college, you didn't have that. And how did you make that transition? Was it difficult trying to convince people? And I'm thinking about this as a metaphor, people might see us, like, let's take me, for example, okay? People might see me as the video guy, but maybe, I'm a lot more than that. Maybe I'm multifaceted. Maybe, I'm a great singer, or I'm an amazing chef. But so what advice can you give to people who want to transition from what people think you are or see you as to what you believe you are in your heart?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to get an opportunity to spread your wings, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and sometimes it's a small window, sometimes it's a big window. You get opportunity after opportunity. For those, consider yourself lucky. I had a very small window. Now, at 17, my true freshman year, I was 17 up until October. I have to admit, I thought I had it all figured out. Who doesn't, right?
Right.
So I was very naive, and I think in some respects that served me very well because I didn't realize the odds and how small the window is. It's easy for me to say now what was at stake and how quickly I could have squandered it. But at that time, I just said to myself, if they'll just give me a chance, And it was a chance that I didn't really see. I didn't envision the chance coming as a scout team quarterback. I thought I would get reps as in the first and second units.
Yeah.
But I was lowest on the totem pole. And so I had to strike while the iron was hot. And so when I got a chance to play quarterback, I just went crazy and threw it 75 yards, 80 yards. And not that you ever do that in a game, but everybody was like, wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a blazer, a sprinter. We can make him a receiver.
Yeah. Yeah. A little shock and awe doesn't hurt.
And that's really so. To answer your question, I think you got to strike while the iron's hot. And again, you can't. I spend a lot less time complaining or thinking about why don't I get this, why don't I get that, and spent more time thinking, all right, tomorrow's going to be the day. And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
But and my pro debut was much the same. I don't play in Atlanta. I go to Green Bay. I'm a backup. There was a lot of hype, but hype was just that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know when I was going to get my chance. And Don Mikowski gets hurt, and they go, "Hey," and I could have easily gone in there and just played awful. And we're not having this conversation right now.
Yeah, I want to go back and just for the audience who doesn't know the term scout team, think of the movie Rudy, and Rudy was a scout team player. I was a scout team player. I played scout offense and scout defense because I'm only about 5'9", on a good day, and back then I was probably like a $135, but I was I had a lot of grit. I was a lot like Rudy. Actually, I could relate with that character because that was me to a T. But you're running the scout offense, you're getting beat up. If you're the scout team DB, you're tackling the best running backs and covering the best receivers.
Yeah.
If you're the scout offense, you're getting killed by the linebacker, and you just get. I had all these stick marks on my helmet. If you know what that is,
oh yeah.
Oh man, we had these yellow helmets, and the scout team had blue, and I had blue. Just my whole helmet was blue. It was just bloody, and anyway, it's not a glamorous job.
No, absolutely not.
No. But I love that lesson. I love that lesson of being optimistic and biding your time, waiting for the opportunity. Because I think, in my experience, what gets a lot of people stuck is they are waiting to get picked. Waiting for the coach to call their number, which sometimes you got to do. But at the same time, you got to be ready when your number's called, right? Like you threw a 75-yard pass. You don't do that every day. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
And so when you were called upon, you were ready, and that's that window you're talking about. That very small opportunity.
Yeah. Who knows if I would have had another opportunity? Maybe not. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I also hear what you're saying is part of the secret to your success is luck, but I maybe would push back to say, that old saying, luck is where preparation, opportunity meet.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. Being ready when it's your time.
Yeah.
Not knowing when your time is.
Well, and for quarterbacks too, that's sort of the age-old opportunity. I think, Brady had the same thing happen.
Absolutely.
His starter went down. He stepped in, and he was ready. And I think about, all these other quarterbacks. We had Russell Wilson on the show. Russell's great. Another baseball player turned football player. Great lesson. So you get to the Green Bay Packers. You get your start. You have a good showing. You stay in there. Are you making much money at the time?
Compared to making no money, yes. When I left college, I had $120 in my checking account, and I probably had that throughout all 4 years. I was, to say tightwad is an understatement. So my first signing bonus in Atlanta was $450,000, and when I say that today, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. Now guys get, bukus of money times 100 compared to that now.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
It is what it is. When I got my first really big contract, I'm sure some of the old timers were like, not grinning and pulling for me, probably like, we paved the way for you guys, and we got nothing. We had to have separate jobs. Yeah. So,
by the way, we have some football royalty in our family. So my wife's great uncle is Johnny Unitas.
He probably made chicken feed.
Yeah.
So I was always very respectful of the game. I guess the best way to put it is, presently, if I were to go ask a 16-year-old football player, a good football player at that, you would think he would know who Steve Young is. I bet he'd have no idea. And that, because when I coached high school football several years ago here at the local high school, and I would tell stories about different players, and I could tell by the look on their face they had no clue who I was talking about. I was like, "You never heard of John Randall?" And they're like, "No, what did he play?" I'm like, "My gosh, he's in the Hall of Fame."
Roger Staubach.
Right? Oh, I didn't even go to that.
Yeah.
But see, I knew every player that played the game presently or before, and I had a tremendous amount of respect and still do for those guys. And I get it, Well, what I made in my peak will easily be surpassed 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road, and so on and so forth.
Let's stay on that subject of, being a student of your craft. So, I have a video production company. I've watched a lot of films. I watch films to study. Of course, I enjoy them, but I also watch them to study. And it's funny because I'll sit down with my family and I'll call out, the structure of the movie. By the way, in every movie, there's this moment that's called "All Is Lost." And if you've read any of Joseph Campbell's work, talking about journeys and talking about the model that most stories follow, there's this hero, there's some sort of conflict, he's got to resolve it, go out on some quest. And there's this moment in every movie where it seems like all is lost. And literally in every movie, in every story, in every TV show, I can point it out and I sort of ruin it for everyone. But I believe in being a student of my craft because it makes me better. So is that one of the keys to your success? Is to
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure you studied hours and hours of film. But
Absolutely. I can't tell you, you talk about being a 49ers fan. I can't tell you how much film I watched. When I was traded to Green Bay, right away I knew that Mike Holmgren was the head coach and that he came from San Francisco and that the offense was going to be either a carbon copy or a version of the West Coast offense.
Yeah.
And
were you excited about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How could you not be? Because
yeah.
at the time, Joe Montana and the West Coast offense was dominating the NFL.
Yeah.
So here we have a chance to put it at play. So I watched so much film of Joe and Steve, and I'll be honest with you, it was kind of frightening because they did it so well, and I didn't know if I could be as polished, and I never was, to be honest with you. I kind of did it my own way, and Mike Holmgren eventually kind of called plays that really catered more to my style, not so much Joe or Steve's. Mm-hmm. But in the end, the result was pretty much the same. But yeah, I studied so much film of those guys. Joe Montana, I never saw a bad play. It was incredible.
Yeah. He was a gentleman football player, very gentlemanly.
If you're a defensive guy, it's like, I don't know if I want to hit Joe.
Yeah. Where your style was more like just
reckless.
Rock and roll. I kind of see like you as the cowboy football player. You're just out there, you get punched in the mouth, you get back up. You're very gritty, just relentless.
Yeah, and I think that
old school.
Yeah, I think that in fact I know that came from my upbringing. My dad was my high school football coach, and you would think that he would showcase his son and throw it and just I want everybody to come watch my son play because we're going to light it up. But that wasn't the case, and I was doing tackling drills just like the other guys. I was doing monkey rolls just like the other guys.
Yeah,
I was
no special treatment.
No, and there wasn't like a defining moment where we were riding home from practice together in the truck, and my dad said, "Look, I'm teaching you the leadership qualities that's going to carry you on." There never was that. There was never any moment where he like said, "All right, here's what I'm doing." Mm-hmm. It was just balls to the wall. You got to tackle better. You got to block better. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, all right, I'm going to give you a chance to throw in the fourth quarter because such and such is coming to the game. And so, and I think from a toughness standpoint, it's real simple. And I can give you several examples, but one just that says it all. There were times where in fact, like my 9th or 10th grade year, I get hit and get the wind knocked out of me. Well, you think you're dying.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh, yeah, I can't breathe. And
yeah.
Everybody's waving, come over. My dad wouldn't come out there. He's like, let him lay. Mm-hmm. And then one particular time in baseball, I slid in the second and I kind of jammed my ankle and I kind of lay there and he yells from the dugout, "Get your ass up and get off the field." Yeah. And, I'm sure parents are like, "Oh my God." But and honestly, I probably was looking for a little sympathy. Yeah. And I never found it. So fast forward to my pro days, I wasn't coming out. I just wasn't doing it. I knew my team counted on me. I knew my job was secured because the guy in front of me got hurt. Not a major injury. He probably thought he'd be right back in the game either later that game or the next week, and he never saw the field again.
Yeah. So what did football teach you? We sort of danced around all these lessons, but can you crystallize some of these things that you learned that would serve you well in other areas of your life?
I think as fun and as gratifying as football was, there is a certain level of pain, either physical or mental. You don't win all your games. Learning to accept the loss is hard to do.
People watching or listening may not know the extent of times that you had concussions. I mean, you and Steve Young both were these victims of, before the rules were changed, you got rocked several times. And it's serious. It's a serious injury.
Yeah, well, then no one thought it was. It was just your bell got rung, you go back in the game 10, 15 minutes later after the fog had cleared. But we now know that that's not the case. The fog never clears. But, mentally and physically, it takes its toll on you. And at times, maybe mentally, if you go through a 3 or 4 game stretch where you either lose or pull one out at the last second, as emotional of a high as that is, it's also emotionally draining. Mm-hmm. And learning to deal with adversity, which goes hand in hand with winning and losing. Learning to handle wins or success is just as hard as learning to handle the lows.
Let's talk about the lows for a second. Then I also want to talk about the highs, because you did win a Super Bowl at Green Bay, and it was the second win since Super Bowl number 2, right? So you were probably
so it was a long time.
Hometown hero, but I want to talk about the hard times. So, and I'm asking this in context because I know a lot of people, they struggle with this. They have a loss, or they have, they get their bell rung metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bad day, whatever it is, a bad month, a bad year. What were some of your coping mechanisms? How did you get through that? Did you have a mental coach? Did you have a psychologist?
Early in my career, and people who follow my career are well aware of it. The younger generation probably isn't. But we won the Super Bowl in '96, and that was my 5th year. I think it was my 5th year.
Not bad.
Not bad. But at the time, I was a drinker, and I was also I wouldn't have admitted it at the time because I had won 3 MVPs while in the middle of this addictive life that I was living. I'd gotten addicted to Vicodin.
Yeah, painkillers basically.
Yeah. Harmlessly, I got addicted, but regardless, I took a couple after a game, liked the feeling. The next time I got hurt, didn't really warrant a pain pill, but I thought, I'm going to take some more. And before I knew it, I was taking 15 Vicodin ES at one time.
Wow.
I didn't drink every day, but when I drank, again, at the time, I would have said, I don't have a drinking problem. I don't drink every day. Stupid statement. It's what I did when I drank. I never drank one beer, went home. I would drink till I couldn't drink anymore. Mm-hmm. And so early on, I coped through alcohol, pain pills, and I was deceived, I guess, by the results. I thought I'd won 3 MVPs, 95, 6, and 7. And that was right in the height of my pain pill addiction. I was taking 15 Vicodin ES every night. And eventually it led to 2 seizures. One during the season, one right after the season in the hospital after routine ankle surgery. Mm-hmm. And that one really kind of opened up the door for there's a problem.
That was a wake-up call, right?
Yeah, and so I was in rehab 3 different times, never took a pain pill after the 3rd time, and quit drinking after that in '98, and haven't taken either since. But that's how I coped early. As I got older, my wife was great to lean on and just listen to the frustrations. And I'll say this, Mike Holmgren, before he left to go to Seattle, we had many good conversations, but one in particular. And he said, "You're going to have a long career." And at the time, I was up to year 6. And he said, "You're going to have a long career." He said, "But I just want to forewarn you of something that you're going to face as you get up in years." He said, "You're going to look at things, plays, games, seasons, much like a coach will, as you gravitate into 10, 15, maybe even more years." And I thought, kind of under my breath, I rolled my eyes like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Look at it like a coach, like.
Well, he said, "I'll give you an example." He said, "You can go 15-1, and all you think about after that season is the one loss, not the 15 wins.
I
The
see.
15 wins are not enough.
I see.
And say you win the Super Bowl, great feeling. By the time you wake up the next morning, all you can think about is we have to win another one. And or you worry about things that you can't control. And that one was really the one that kind of hit me in the face. All of his examples I found to be true. After a game, a good game, maybe I had great statistics. I thought and dwelled on what I could have done better rather than saying, I'm going to accept this as it is. I played well. I did what I could do, and so be it. That was the easy way out. I couldn't do that. And I worried a lot in the latter part of my career about what other guys were doing or not doing. Would they be ready for the game? Would they study? Would they prepare? And
Your teammates. You're talking
teammates, yeah. Things, again, I could not control. The only thing I could control was what I did, and that was hard to do in itself. Better yet, worrying about what everyone else did. And so he was absolutely right.
That's great advice. Let me just unpack that a little bit. Probably like the rest of the world, while we've been on lockdown here, I watched that Michael Jordan documentary, and I had no idea. I knew he was a competitor. Did you watch that doc?
I watched maybe an episode.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
Yeah, well, the thing that struck me is kind of what you just said, which is Michael got to a point where he wanted to win so badly that he became...
Anything less was even a win, but he don't play well.
Yeah.
It's never enough.
Right, but what struck me is kind of what you just said. He did take it upon himself to be the taskmaster, and he didn't care if people hated him or not. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm not someone who could do that. I like people to like me. It's hard, tough love is one thing, but in that doc, the one thing that came through is that Michael was a jerk in order to be a champion. And I can think of other business people like that, people like Steve Jobs, who have a really bad reputation just for being an a-hole, yet he was at the top of the game. So I'm not sure how I feel about, well, I am sure how I feel about that. Personally, I don't think I could compromise, my values to insult or to, whip my teammates into shape. I don't think I have it in me to do that. It's a tough thing to do, and you're right. Just managing your own shiz, is hard enough.
Yeah.
Let alone trying to worry about all these other players and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Let's talk about success. What advice do you have about dealing with success, being a winner? Because you played, 16 seasons with Green Bay and 20 seasons all in, right?
Yeah.
That's
correct.
remarkable. I mean, and you got rocked, too. This is not the 2019 NFL season where there's
where if you blow on the quarterback, you get a penalty.
No, this is like you got body slammed and and people were coming after you, too. You had like a bounty on your head, too, I'm sure.
I think the more success I had, the more driven I became.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of what you're talking about with Michael Jordan. I think the one thing that all successful people have is obviously a drive, but maybe even overdrive for the super successful. And,
did it ever get the best of you?
in which way?
Like anyone.
Complacent
or too big of an ego that started getting in the way, or
no. I think there was probably a time where I thought I was invincible, but I don't think I think the best testament would be from teammates, and I've had some teammates come out and talk about how it was to play with me and how likable and fun
Yeah.
Even in my super prime, I made sure that I included everyone in the success.
Yeah.
Only because I should have, because that's the truth. Not because I did it for people to like me. I probably walked around, thinking I was hot stuff, but I don't know if many people would have picked up on that. I hope not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you already kind of laid the groundwork for that. Your dad didn't really let you be a prima donna football player, let alone prima donna quarterback.
No.
And so that maybe could be credited to him. Well, you've now transitioned. You're doing a lot of entrepreneurial things. Let's talk about what you're doing now and what lessons you learned or what has helped you from your past pro athletic career now into being successful in business.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I'm not a business person, and I'm not out to start a business. I'm not out to own a car dealership or, it's just not my cup of tea. I'm not interested. My younger brother, on the other hand, we used to call him, growing up, we called him Little Donald Trump. He had visions. He had a Bitcoin collection. He had visions of owning businesses and making money and all that stuff. I was totally the opposite. I was doing curls. I was throwing. I was doing push-ups.
Yeah.
And I was fine with that.
Yeah.
Now my younger brother is a GM of a casino, and he's doing what he likes to do. So that being said, business stuff comes my way. I'm not smart enough to decipher the good and the bad usually, so I just stay away from it. But what I know, and then transition over to business, this little tube Pref Pro. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, the guy who developed that is a guy by the name of Jake Van Landingham. At the time when I met him about 8 years ago, so I was a couple of years out of retirement. He was presently, at the time, he was the head of the neuroscience department, way above my intellect, at Florida State University.
Yeah.
And he had developed a product to treat concussions. And
something you can relate to, something
I can relate to.
Yeah.
So a mutual friend of ours, a doctor here in Hattiesburg, a local guy who I've been friends with for a long time, knew Jake. And Jake had reached out to David and trying to get in touch with me because he wanted me to hear what he had, and hopefully I could help him get it in the door of the NFL. Makes perfect sense. So he comes up, sort of gives his pitch. Likeable guy, very, very likable, very sharp, and basically talked about the severity of concussions. And when I retired about 10 years ago, concussions were just starting. I don't think the movie had come out yet.
Yeah.
I think it came out about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And that kind of opened the door for, like, damn, are you serious?
Yeah.
Concussions are that major?
Yeah, and a lot of players started speaking up too, saying, "Hey, we're dying younger. We got
And
problems."
they were.
Yeah. And we want health benefits, and it became a big.
That's kind of when it. So this was kind of about the same time as that wave of concussions are an issue, and Jake said, I believe I have a product that will treat concussions, but it requires FDA approval. I'd love the NFL to back it, some way, shape, or form, which hasn't happened. But anyway, so one thing led to another. I like Jake. I thought it was if it worked, it would be a great
natural fit.
Yeah, I mean, for everyday life, not just football.
Yeah,
playgrounds, keep them in school, keep this in schools.
Hockey,
elderly,
lacrosse. I mean,
concussions are never going away. I mean, I think we know that.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another. I kind of came on as just kind of. He gave me some shares. I did interviews, tried to help out getting people to invest.
Yeah.
It turns out I ended up investing myself, and then I was all in, obviously, when you put your own money in.
Yeah.
And here we are today. And the FDA approval, it takes time. It takes money.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of red tape to get through.
Yeah.
I was totally oblivious to what goes into getting a drug through FDA approval. And as I've learned, most get bought up if they get to a certain point by somebody else who has the money and the means. They kind of wait and let you kind of do the dirty work, and then they'll buy it.
Right.
We haven't gotten to that point, but we're in the state right now. We're in the human trial phase, which is taking place in Australia. You know, my naive self, I said, "Why Australia, Jake?" He goes, "It's much cheaper there to do it, and the regulations and stuff are not as stringent."
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, meanwhile, by chance, he basically, part of his medicine, he was able to, he did a study on dogs, which, you know, I'm kind of, you know, out in left field when it comes to all this stuff, but he did it with aloe. He did this study on dogs, and he said, I want to see if I can get my drug to the brain without requiring FDA approval. So the FDA approval is a nasal application. You blow into a little application, and it shoots the medicine up in your nose.
Okay.
This does not require FDA approval. Okay. So you rub it on the neck. Well, he does this dog study, and I asked him, I said, what do you think? What are the chances? He goes, ain't a chance. Yeah, he said, there ain't a chance in hell it's going to work. I'm going to try it. Someone had told him that aloe would be a great portal to administer this medicine.
Aloe vera, you're saying?
Aloe vera.
Yeah, so natural, plant-based, harmless.
Works great on the skin. Gets in, you know, sunburns and things. So he said, I'll try it. It's not going to cost a lot of money. So he does this dog study, and he calls me 5-6 weeks later, and he says, you're not going to effing believe this. It worked. He said one molecule gets to the brain. And
through absorption or something, through the skin?
Yeah, you do it on the carotid artery.
Okay.
And it within 7 to 8 minutes, it's in the brain, and it provides about 7 hours of anti-inflammatory protection, which the big problem with concussions is that the brain swells.
Right.
The worse the concussion, the more swelling. The more swelling, the more problems.
Right.
So you know, it's not a cure, but this is before a game, before you go out to recess, before a UFC fight. Whatever.
Yeah, it's better than a couple of Advil or Vicodin.
Absolutely, and it's providing maybe a major concussion is reduced to a mild.
Is it prescription or over the counter?
No, it'd be over the counter, and we're in. Yeah. This is they got me this tube out real quickly, but we're in manufacturing right now, and this is about to be online. I think it runs $20 or so.
Yeah, congratulations. It almost sounds too good to be true.
I totally agree. So while this is hopefully, you know, this gets out mainstream, maybe we get into retail stores after the online, and you know, then we can get the FDA part of it. We can get that either approved or get bought up or something. But there's definitely a place for concussion treatment, and rather than prevention, because that's what the NFL, their cry is prevention. We're trying to reduce or eliminate concussions by better helmets and better rules. But I don't know if the numbers have gone down, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm sure you're right, but it's all good, right? Like anything that is protecting the players, protecting kids who want to play the sport, because I think the numbers also, I don't have all the hard facts, but I think more and more kids dropping out of playing football every year because of head injuries. You know, parents.
Yeah,
you know,
rightfully so.
I have a 12-year-old son who plays wide receiver. He's plays flag football right now. He wants to play tackle, and we're saying, save that brain just a little bit longer. We think you got talent, you got skills, you're better than me, faster than me, but like we want to save that brain, so let's wait till high school. It's definitely something that's on our mind.
Yeah, I got 3 grandsons, 10, 6, and 3.
Wow.
And they have never mentioned to me playing football. And I will not at all initiate that conversation. If they choose to play, I'll back them. But I would be so fearful watching a game and seeing any of the 3 either make a tackle or get hit by some big guy, and people, that surprises people. But I just know that, especially that age in particular, the brain is definitely the protection part of it is not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, quarterback is arguably the most difficult, but also safest position, don't you think?
The quarterback
for head injuries.
Yeah, but
because you're not sticking people like linebackers or cornerbacks, defensive backs.
Yeah, I would think the number of concussions, if there was a study done, and there may have been, say the right guard and the quarterback, who has the most concussions? Obviously, the obvious choice would be the right guard, and that can be said for receiver, middle linebacker. I would say it's safer, but it's a more vulnerable position.
Yeah. And especially
you're kind of there to kind of just absorb whatever, rather than get away from it.
And especially people who play the game like you did. I mean, you stood up fearless. You just threw the ball and then you take the hit. That's another something I remember about you is you didn't care. You'd stay in that pocket. You'd stay in there and just get clobbered.
Yeah, and that being said, I don't know if I would have played much different had I known the severity of concussions. But it's hard for me to say when I've played 20 years. Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't. But I would have taken a long, hard look in, say, year 12 if I'd have known how severe. Just from a standpoint of, hey, I still got years left. I can play.
Yeah.
But all it would have taken to convince me was just to really have someone say, Brett, at 50, you may not know who you are. Or you may be so forgetful, or you may even have long-term effects because at the time, Junior Seau was playing. I would have never thought. That guy loved life.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could be like him. I may have taken a harder look at how long I played from that point forward.
So here you are about halfway done, halfway in. How are you taking care of yourself now? You got morning routines? Like, what are you eating for breakfast? How are you taking care of yourself and staying at the top of your game at 50? Yeah,
I'm very active. I'm very thankful and blessed.
What are you doing? You riding the cycle? You running? What are you doing?
Yeah, I rode bike. I probably ride about 140 miles a week.
Okay.
Some with a group, some by myself. So, like, for example, this afternoon, there would probably be 5 to 10 of us. We do a 5:30 ride every Tuesday.
Nice.
I rode 20 miles yesterday.
Low impact.
Low impact.
Good on the hips.
In saying that, the last 3 years I ran in a half marathon, which I would have never, in my wildest dreams, thought I would run more than a mile.
Yeah.
Better yet, 13.1.
How's the hip?
It's doable. It has its, I guess it's kind of a stupid mentality, but it's kind of like, if I can do it and endure the pain, and it's not all the time, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, typical Brett Favre. That's the Favre attitude right there.
Yeah, so I do take good care of myself, but at times I still running's probably not the best thing to do. Really, for anyone, the just the impact over and over again is going to lead to some joint problems.
So you quit drinking a while ago. What else did you kind of take out of your diet to make these adjustments? Because I feel it too. I'm getting older, and I had to make some changes.
Well, I had to stop eating gluten, and I found out I was allergic to it.
You have like celiacs or something?
Well, it's not celiac. My last 3 years playing football, when I would come home at the end of the day, I'd shower at the facility. I'd go home. My wife would usually have supper ready, and I couldn't breathe. My nose, it wasn't like I was congested. It was like somebody had stuck cotton balls up in my nose, and I would itch. My hair, and I thought like it was hard water. I realized what that was when I got to a place like Wisconsin or Minnesota, where they have to have water softeners.
Yeah.
I thought it was that, and maybe a little bit was that, but my eyes would stay dry and itchy. My skin was itchy. My nose, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, so you're having like an allergic reaction to the gluten.
Yes, and I was gluten overload. I mean, I was trying to eat wheat because they said that was healthy.
Right.
So everything I was doing was making life miserable on me.
Yeah.
So I did a blood test. I found out I got an allergy to gluten, soy, dairy, and eggs. So I had to cut out regular milk. Now we drink almond milk. Mm-hmm. If I eat eggs, I eat organic eggs. That seemed to be fine. I stay away from gluten. If I do eat something that has gluten in it, I'll know. I don't do it by choice. My nose will stop up, and my ears now feel like they're filling up with fluid, and I feel like I'm underwater. So cutting all that stuff out has helped. Don't get me wrong. I still like chocolate. I like pancakes, gluten-free pancakes, good gluten-free pancakes. I love them. Mm-hmm. But overall, I do it much better. If you were to say, Brett, give me some advice on a diet, I would tell you, never deprive yourself of something you like. Just enjoy it in moderation. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to be miserable. It's like, look, one day a week I'm going to eat a cheeseburger. So be it.
Yeah. But then you're getting back on the road bike, and you're getting back. It's not like you're slacking off in the other areas.
You look at it, one cheeseburger may be the equivalent of running 3 miles.
Yeah.
Or a 30-minute bike ride.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other. And that's kind of my motto.
We were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. It's not about the destination. It's all about the journey.